Are you noticing a pattern where I'm not reading, I'm just buying books? Sometimes I look at it and it almost makes me feel guilty. I'm not reading about flowers and sunshine usually. Like I got a couple wins under my belt. I have been liking this descent into chaos. We all know what this is about, right? Hi, I'm Sam. There's quite literally no one asking me to do this, but I thought I would tell you about all of the books that I have on my nightstand TBR, and more specifically how I have been in a really brutal reading slump for most of this year, and I guess my aspirations to read these books and my hopes that they will maybe be the ones to bust my slump. So I had posted a picture of these on my Instagram yesterday, basically explaining that my only attempt at getting out of a reading slump was just adding more books to my nightstand TBR in the hopes that just seeing them every morning when I wake up and every night before I go to bed, it would somehow inspire me to pick them up. But actually, I've never really been the type of person who has been cured of a reading slump by reading a specific book. It really is just a mood and a season of my life that I go through pretty much every year. I don't know, I'm just not reading that much. I'm engaging in my other hobbies, and that is really what I have been doing a lot this year. But I miss reading. I want to read. I miss reading a book and being in the middle of it and having it consume my thoughts and feeling like I can't wait to get back into the story. So the first one is one that I am actually in the middle of reading. That is Private Citizens by Tony tulathimutte. I read Rejection by him earlier this year and was blown away by how much I loved that book. Unlike anything I've ever read, one of the best things I've ever read. So I naturally wanted to read more of his writing, but there was just, I don't know, this kind of book to me is the worst in that I'm reading it and I'm liking it, and yet I still feel like I can't bring myself to pick it up. So that is what really tells me that I'm in a reading slump. It isn't that I have just been picking up stinkers. I think it is just that I'm not in the right headspace for reading, despite desperately wanting to be. This is about a group of early to mid 20-somethings. And I think it's implied that they all went to Stanford together and they're all dysfunctional in their own way. So we have idealistic Corey, internet lurking Will, awkward Henrik, and vicious Linda. I mean, you can see, like, I've been reading this and I've been annotating a ton. I have been liking this. So that's why it's just so disappointing that I'm in this season of my life where I'm not reading a lot, because I would love to read this. And now it's gotten to a point where it's been so much time away from it that I feel like I would actually have a hard time just picking up right where I left off. So I might even have to restart it, which is just like daunting in a different way. I don't know. I keep this on my nightstand intermittently because sometimes I look at it and it almost makes me feel guilty and like anxious because I'm like, oh, I just know I'm going to have to restart that. So it doesn't really help set the mood of like, yay, I'm excited to read again, you know? But regardless, I would really like to read this and finish this year. Next is one that I think would probably have the best chance of ending my reading slump, just because I do really want to read it. I have been sort of hyperfixating on it for a while, but I'm a little daunted by the length and the time period that it's set in. So that is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Part of the hyperfixation on this, I think, is that there was scarcity around this book. It was out of print for maybe 6 to 9 months. And of course, right in the middle of that period is when I heard about it and became interested in it. So all of the copies at my library were on hold and I wasn't able to get my hands on it. So I thought as soon as I got my hands on it, I would be able to dive right in. But then that's when the reading slump hit. This has probably the best chance of busting my slump because it's like a horror book set in medieval times. I don't typically like medieval stories, but I don't know. I think the concept of a horror book being set during like the bubonic plague is very enticing to me. So yeah, this is one that I think could maybe do the job, but I think it could also do the opposite where it would really make me feel bogged down. It's not like a quick, easy read. So I don't know, maybe I need to prioritize some shorter books to sort of just feel like I got a couple wins under my belt, you know? But I really do want to read this and I think it will be good. Next two are a couple classics. One of them I've actually read before. I read it in high school, but I recently became interested in rereading it because of our current political and social climate. So that is 1984 by George Orwell. I love this sort of like redacted, censored cover. I think that is brilliant. And I know I like this book. I read it in high school and I loved it as a high schooler, but I think now as an adult, and again, especially given our current political and social climate, this would just hit that much more, I think. I guess we all know what this is about, right? It's basically like a dystopian novel where we're like following this protagonist who it's in like this hyper authoritarian state and like hyper surveillance. Big Brother is watching you. There's like very limited freedoms. So citizens are just like very, very highly surveilled and controlled. And that sounds like a nightmare. But again, it's like, I know I like this, but it's also such a bummer, you know? Like, maybe I need to be leaning towards more uplifting, positive books, at least during this period where I'm having a hard time even picking up a book. Maybe this is going to be too heavy. I don't know. But maybe this could do it. I don't know. And then the other George Orwell book I have is Animal Farm. I haven't read this one before, but it is a lot shorter. I picked this up recently when I was traveling for work in Scotland and Ireland. And yeah, I had never seen this cover before. I don't think it's a UK specific cover or Ireland specific cover, but nevertheless, it just was one of those where you're like in a bookstore and a book kind of like falls into your hands at the right time. And it just spoke to me and I was like, all right, I think this is when I finally pick up Animal Farm. I think this could help me get back into reading because it is quite short and I'm told it packs quite a punch. I think I could probably read this in a sitting or two. So this I might put more towards the top of the list, just so, again, I can kind of get like a win under my belt. I have a very rudimentary understanding of what this book is about, but I am told that it's about animals rising up and basically imprisoning the humans that previously farmed them. So I think it's like a role reversal of the farm animals and then the farmers. I never had to read this for school, and I have been able to avoid spoilers, so I actually don't know how this goes, but I think it should be really good. Another one I picked up while I was in Ireland was Butcher Boy by Patrick McCabe. I went to this bookstore in Dublin where they had a whole section, a whole room really, of Irish fiction. And I think I knew that there were a lot of really prolific writers from Ireland, but it really wasn't until I went into that room that I realized how many classics and masterpieces really came from Irish writers. So this one I had never heard of. I'd never even heard of Patrick McCabe before, but the cover really jumped out to me. I liked it because it really just seemed like it's about small town life in Ireland. So this is about Francis Brady, who is a small town rascal who spends his days avoiding trouble at home and getting up to no good with his best friend Joe. But then he sort of has this worsening relationship with a neighbor named Mrs. Nugent, and basically his reckless antics start to spiral out of control. I also really like stories that spiral out of control and where there's this feeling of a descent into chaos. I started reading this on the train from Cork to Dublin. I don't know, I just think that's really special to be able to read a piece of literature in the country of origin. So I am 58 pages in and yeah, we'll see. I'm liking it so far. I hope I like how it wraps up. Okay, and then the last one that I got while I was traveling for work, I got this in Scotland at Waterstones. That is Robot by Adam Wiśniewski-Snerg, and this was translated by Tomasz Mirkowicz. This one really jumped out to me because of the cover. It was on a sci-fi table, and I feel like I have kind of a complex relationship with sci-fi books, but honestly what really hooked me was just the first sentence of the synopsis. Is BER 66 a human or a robot? I think especially now living in the age of AI, this is probably going to be a very timely read. Yeah, BER 66 has controllers known as the mechanism, and they tell him he is a living machine programmed to gather information on the inhabitants of a strange underground world. And as he's doing this, he comes closer to the truth of his existence. This is apparently one of the most important Polish science fiction novels of all time, a haunting philosophical inquiry into the nature of our reality. So yeah, the cover artwork is just so cool, and it really jumped out to me. It's also like, you can't tell from the video, but the face is sort of textured. Hopefully I like this one. I know, like I said, science fiction isn't normally my main genre, but I will see if this will be the exception. Another one that I picked up a few months ago is On Earth as It Is Beneath by Paula Maia. Honestly, I knew this was coming out. I knew it was being released in English this year, but I sort of forgot about it. And then I happened upon this at a bookstore in Seattle. Whoop. And I was like, yeah, okay, I do for sure want to read that. So I really liked Of Cattle and Men by her. So I wanted to give this a shot as well. It's another really short one too. So I think this could really be a good one to read while I'm in my reading slump. So this is in a remote corner of Brazil. Life in a forgotten prison takes a sadistic, deadly turn. So it looks like we are at a prison where inmates were basically just imprisoned but never actually rehabilitated. And then it's decades after its establishment and the prison's operations are winding down. Oh God. But in the prison's waning days, I guess I haven't read this full synopsis, but in the prison's waning days, a new horror is unleashed. Every full moon night, a handful of inmates are set free. The warden is armed with rifles and the hunt begins. Seems like it's going to be a lot like The Most Dangerous Game. Yeah, Paula Maia is really good at writing about the human capacity for brutality and cruelty. So I think this could be a good one. I know I'm going to love this one, but again, it's just going to be very heavy, very brutal. So I don't know, maybe I need to add some books that are less intense, But I don't know, I feel like those are the only kinds of books I read. I'm not reading about flowers and sunshine usually. I'm reading about people getting murdered in the most gruesome ways. So this is on the stack. Okay, and then last two I got at the same bookstore. Are you noticing a pattern where I'm not reading, I'm just buying books and just sticking them onto my nightstand in the hopes that I will somehow consume these stories? Okay, but the next one is Holy Boy by heejoo, and this was translated by Joheun Lee. So I love books about idol culture and parasocial relationships, fandom culture. So this is about 4 different women who are consumed by the same idol, a 21-year-old K-pop idol. Basically, the 4 of them take the K-pop idol hostage, and that is the story. That's really all I need to know. But really what jumped out to me was the cover. I had never even heard of this. This was not even a glimmer in my eye, and I just saw the spine jumped out to me. And then, of course, the synopsis sounded right up my alley. So I don't know. I think that this one could be a good candidate too, because it's obviously dark, but it also seems like it's going to be kind of absurd and over the top. So I might get a couple laughs too. I don't know. But then last one, I also bought at an indie bookstore. I now know this is a very famous novel, but I had never heard of it before. But that is The Grass is Singing by Doris Lessing. I love these olive editions. I feel like they are really striking on a shelf. I didn't know what the synopsis was because on these editions, they don't really say the synopsis. On the back, it just says, she had learned, standing in the sun watching them all day, to hide her hatred when she spoke to them, but she did not attempt to hide it from herself. I'm pretty sure this actually won the Nobel Prize at one point. So yeah, you all have probably heard of it. I just never had. Seems like it's going to be pretty dark. Seems like it's about colonization and enslavement. And again, probably the human capacity for brutality and cruelty against its fellow man. So yeah, that sounds really, really good. Okay, guys, those are all the books that I currently have stacked on my nightstand in the hopes that they will help me start reading again. I do apologize for leaving you guys for so long, but I just really didn't have much to say. If I'm not reading, I don't really have a lot to report on. Now, with all that said, I have been reading some. It's just there have been long stretches in between my reading, but I have read some really good stuff this year. Most of it I have already talked about on the channel, but I was thinking about maybe doing the mid-year freakout tag. I'm also considering doing a tier ranking video, tier ranking all of the books I've read so far this year, so I can at least speak about what I've been reading, but in a more rapid fire way, because I don't know, it's just not very fun for me to talk about a bunch of books that were only 3 stars, but I know you guys might be interested to hear what I've been reading so far this year, so I don't know, I guess let me know what you would like to see from me between those options, and I can try to make it happen. You can like this video if you want, comment, have you read any of these books? Which of these do you recommend I start with to break my slump? What are you reading? What are you reading and loving? I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a better reading year than I am. You can watch my other videos if you want. You could subscribe, and I'll see you in whatever video I make next. Hopefully very soon. Okay, love you guys. Bye.